Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Talia Guten and I'm really excited to be launching a video series on YouTube. I am the founder of an organization called the Datora Collective, and it's an organization whose mission is around inspiring young women to get curious about themselves, inspiring young women to be welcoming and accepting of all of who they are so that they can take responsibility for their lives for the sake of being in the driver's seat of their lives, for the sake of being the leaders of their lives. And when I say responsibility, it's not about responsibility like your older sister or how my older sister was responsible, or like how a babysitter was responsible, or like taking on the burdens of the world. That's not what I mean by responsibility. And I think that responsibility has a lot of more like unhelpful connotations attached to the word. And how I want to offer an understanding of it today is responsibility is, when you break down the word, it's responsibility. Responsibility. So it's your ability to respond to life in a way that is skillful, to respond to life in a way that is empowering, to respond to life in a way that puts you in the driver's seat and not in the passenger seat of your life. Because so often what can happen is that, particularly with women, and I work primarily with women in Datora and in the work that I do, primarily with women, what can happen is that we are victims of life. We are victims of our circumstances. Women can be in the passenger seat being pulled around by life. It's just like, oh, let me like follow this guy, or let me be pulled around by this thing, or let me not, like, it's like all these ways in which we get pulled by life. We get pulled from our own center. And I want to be super crystal clear and careful right now in saying that I don't mean being victimized, because absolutely women and people beyond women can be victimized by horrible things, by things that happen to them, but that doesn't mean that they have to choose to be victims of their circumstances. So there's a distinction. We can be victimized, but that doesn't mean that we have to be victim, because when we are victimized, we can actually choose to take responsibility, again, responding skillfully to the thing that happened to us, so that we get our power back, so that we get to choose how to live our lives, and we're not just being pulled around in all these different directions. And really the essence of it all, as I said, is around what is it to be a leader of your life, right? What is it to not ask people, what decision should I make, or be indecisive and waver and go back and forth and like, oh, should I go this way, or should I go right, or should I go left, or should I go up, or should I go down? And mom, let me ask you, and best friend, let me ask you, and man on the street at my Starbucks, like, let me ask you. It's like, where in life are you giving your power away because you're asking everyone else to make decisions and choices for your own life, right? And so to be a leader of your life is to start to get to know yourself, to be curious about who you are from the inside out. And what I mean when I say from the inside out, it's like going deep into your inner world. We live so much in our external world, so much of life. It's very stimulating. We live so much outside of ourselves, and that's a beautiful thing. Our outside world is beautiful, and there's a deep richness and depth that exists in our inner worlds. And when I say inner world, it's like, what's your inner dialogue? What are your belief systems? What do you believe about the world? What are your values? What are your emotions? What are the physical sensations that you can feel from the inside out? There's a richness, a texture to each of our inner worlds. And how I like to support women is around starting to get curious about the world within, get curious about, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What are you believing? What are you valuing from the inside out? And then in illuminating what's happening internally, you can start to make choices externally that align with what you're feeling internally, so that you're making intentional choices, so that you're making purposeful choices, so that your choices are aligned with it, with what you actually want to create in your life. And again, all for the sake of women really feeling like they are in the driver's seat of their lives, like they are the one choosing which way the car turns, and that life is happening not to them, but for them. And I know that this is possible because I've been living this way for the last decade of my life. Recently turned 29, so my last year of my 20s, and this has been the way that I've been living my life for the last decade, and it's been incredible. And it hasn't been perfect, but it really has been such an empowering way for me to be living. And what can happen with our world is that there's a little bit of a reverse order with the way things work. What do I mean by this? That when young people go to college, when we're in college, there's this pressure and there's this conversation of like, what am I going to do with my life? What job do I want to have? Like, where do I want to live? Like, who do I want my partner to be? And what do I want to be doing? What do I want to be doing? That question of doing. What do I want to do? Right? We live in a very action-focused world, and that's actually a good thing. I love action. I'm very action-focused, and I love it because it's like we get things moving and we get things done and we get things accomplished and we experience human potential, and it's amazing. And when we're only focused on the action, there's a imbalance with the being. And so what do I mean by the being? The being is there's actually nowhere to go. It's like, who are you being in this very moment? Like, who are you? Instead of like, what do you want to do with your life? It's like, who do you want to be? And it's an unraveling of programming, an unraveling of different layers that have been forced on you, maybe because of how you thought that you were supposed to be living in the world, or how you thought that you were supposed to be in the world. And so it's an unraveling of who you think you are for the sake of discovering who you really are. And so when the question in my early 20s, I was quite in college, I was on a different path than a lot of my friends were, a lot of my peers, the people I was going to school with. They were, a lot of them, and I'm speaking generally right now, certainly not everyone, but most of my friends were like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a consultant, or I want to do this, or, and like, honestly, that question never entered my mind. I was like, I don't actually know what I want to be for the rest of my life when I'm 20 years old, but I do know that I'm deeply curious about who I want to be. I'm deeply curious about who I am. I'm deeply curious about exploring myself internally. And I'm deeply trusting that when I explore myself internally, I'll start to get clearer with all those external questions. I'll start to get clearer with, what do I want to do? So instead of asking myself first, what do I want to do? I asked myself, who do I want to be? And then once I got clear on who do I want to be, it became so crystal clear for me, what do I want to do? So what I'm calling you forth, and what I like to do in my work is, can we start to reverse that order of being and doing? And what if it actually, and it's not quite so linear, certainly, and we got to start somewhere, right? And so what I'm offering to you, and in the work that I do with the Datora Collective, with being a life coach, I also work as a yoga educator, and I'm a meditation teacher, and I'm a ferocious learner and reader and writer, and I can list all the different credentials and programs that I've completed over the years. But really, the essence of it all is, get curious about yourself, learn about who you are from the inside out, all the little deep layers and crevices and parts and darknesses and shadows, and the light and the joy and the beliefs and the values and the passions and the likes and the dislikes. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it is. And it's a beautiful journey. And doing this work now is so powerful. When I say now, it's like, do it when you're young. And I like to think that I'm still young. I'm 29, but it's like, do it when you're like now, whatever now is for you, start. Like it's never too late. Get started. And, it really is a never-ending, rich, beautiful journey, an unlayering, a revealing, an awakening, coming home to who you are so that you can choose how you want to be in the world, so that you can be in the driver's seat, so you can be a leader of your life, so that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. So much more to come in this YouTube channel. I'm going to be offering a lot of really valuable content for how you actually become a leader of your life, for how you actually get in touch with your inner world, for how you actually get curious about yourself, how you start to actually welcome all of who you are and accept all of who you are, to not beat yourself up, but instead to be welcoming. And that's a really advanced spiritual practice. And yeah, just a lot of really valuable content. So excited to get started, and more to come.